Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Sherry and today is Tip for Tuesday. So today we're talking all about pressure cookers. We are doing Pressure Cooker 101. But before I get started, if this is your first time here, you love food, you love fun, you love tips and tricks for your kitchen, and you love helping a good cause, make sure to hit the subscribe button and check the details in the description below. All right, so I thought this would be a good idea to go over pressure cookers because over the weekend I stopped by a friend's house and she had just gotten one of the Ninja Foodies. So I'm a little bit jealous, even though I have my awesome Pampered Chef pressure cooker here. But she had no idea how to use it. And I remember that feeling. I remember when I got mine, I think it sat in the box for like 2 months because I was really intimidated. I had heard all these horror stories from, years ago when they blew up. And I got to tell you, these are digital now and they're totally different. They're completely safe. So anyway, you might be wondering, well, what exactly is a pressure cooker if you've never worked with one? And basically what it does is it traps in steam and it builds pressure. So whenever it traps in the steam, it raises the temperature that's in here. So at sea level, water typically boils at, I shouldn't say typically, water boils at 212 degrees. And inside of here, it doesn't boil until 250 degrees. And that allows us to be able to cook food about 3 times faster. So it is awesome. And you might be wondering, well, once you get the steam in, how do you let the steam out? So there's 2 ways that you can let the steam out. Typically, you turn a valve, or in the case of our pressure cooker, you press a button, and this allows the steam to come out here. So that's called a manual release, or some people call it a quick release. And then you also have a slow release or a natural release, and that is where you just let the pressure cooker sit. And over the course of about 15 to 20 minutes, that steam and that pressure is naturally going to dissipate. So why would you want to choose one over the other? Well, if you do a natural release, that is going to produce the most tender results. But if you have something that tends to overcook really easily, like fish, you may want to do a manual release. So I usually just go by what the recipe says or based on the type of food that I have. So what are some of the benefits of cooking with a pressure cooker? Well, for one, because it cooks with water, you can eliminate the need for some of that fat, and then you have a healthier way to cook. Number 2, it's very efficient. And not only does it contain the whole mess inside of here, I don't have splatters and all kinds of messes on my stovetop. It keeps me from having to heat up the stove or the oven. So in the summertime, I think it is just perfect. I love doing things that I would normally only do in the winter. Do it in here. And I never even thought of that you could bake in here, but you can. I make a delicious cheesecake. I've done monkey bread, all kinds of things in here. So like I said, it's also safe compared to what the older models were. I think some of the older models, it was really hard to regulate the temperature. And it was hard to know how much pressure was in there. And sometimes people would take the lid off when it wasn't ready, that sort of thing. And, but again, like I said, they're digital now. They're safe to use. They have a locking mechanism. This thing is not even going to let you open it until all the pressure is gone. It has a little, I call it a little red bobber right here. I don't know what the real name for this is. I just know that this comes up when there's pressure and then it falls back down when there's pressure. And until that falls back down, it is not going to allow you to open the lid. So in addition to keeping the kitchen cooler, it's healthier to cook with. It's faster. It also can make really tough meats, really tough meats. It can make it really, really tender. So that's one of my favorite things to do with this too. All right, so what are some of the things that you need to know when using a pressure cooker? Well, I wrote these down because I didn't want to forget anything. So you always want to add water. This is what's going to build that steam that's going to build the pressure and allow you to cook. So most pressure cookers are going to require at least a cup to a cup and a half of water. Also, you don't want to overfill it. So it should have a marking in it. So mine has it right here. You don't want to fill it over 2/3 of the way full. And like I said, as you can see, this one says max. And then I think this is, well, I forgot how many quarts it is. So anyway, it also will be just like a saute pan. So it has like a sear or a saute setting on here. And so what you want to do is brown your meat first. Because it's cooking with steam, it's not going to be able to brown anything. So anything that you want browned, you're going to brown prior to that. So you could actually turn this on like a saute or saute setting. And you could just fry an egg in here just like you would a regular skillet. Let's see. Stay away from dairy or thickening agents. Yes. So dairy, if you put cheese in here, it's not going to melt like you think it is. It's probably just going to clump up. And the same with a thickener. If you put a thickener in here, then it's going to change the consistency of the liquid that you need to build the pressure. So those 2 things you want to stay away from. Another thing you want to stay away from is alcohol or wine. So typically when we cook with alcohol, we release those alcohol vapors and we basically cook out the alcohol. Well, because the steam has nowhere to go, you're not actually cooking it out and the flavor is going to be, it's going to be off, especially So like if you cook with wine, you can do wine, but you really want to half that. If you don't, you're gonna have like a really tart recipe. So I just kind of stay away from alcohol whenever I'm cooking in a pressure cooker. Herbs and seasonings, they can be a little more potent in here. So sometimes you might want to adjust that as well. All right, let's see. So some of my favorite things that I like to do is you can cook from frozen. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but if you forget to thaw out, I have actually put a whole roast in here, like a 4.5, 5-pound roast that I forgot to take out of the freezer, like say before I left for the day. And I came back home and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to, thaw out dinner. You can put it in here and still in 90 minutes, dinner's completely done and it's completely tender. So that's one of my favorite things to cook in here is something that's frozen. I forgot to thaw out. Another one of my favorite things to cook is eggs. So we have accessories, we have accessories that we sell for our pressure cooker that fit Instant Pots as well. So if you have an Instant Pot and you see some accessories here that you want, they will fit, or all of the models that I've checked, they fit. Let's just say that. So this, you can put up to 12 eggs on here. And when you buy this egg rack, you actually get 2 of them. So it's a total of 24 eggs you can cook at a time. So you put your eggs on the little holes and then it just slides down into the pressure cooker. And then we have another one that fits right down over the top of that. So all in all, 24 eggs in just 12 minutes. So that is absolutely crazy. Great for Easter. But not only can you cook so many eggs in such a short amount of time, they're the easiest to peel ever. So that's one of my favorite things to cook. I also love to cook beans in here. So normally when you do dry beans, you either have to, soak them overnight or you have to do a quick boil with them. Not in the case with a pressure cooker. You can take your beans straight from the bag. Well, I would pick through them first, but go through them. You don't have to soak them or anything. You put them right in your pressure cooker and in 25 minutes. Now, this is one thing I forgot to mention. Whenever you're talking about cooking times, you have your cooking time and then you have the amount of time it takes to build the pressure. So usually that's about 10 minutes or so. But the fuller it is, the longer it's going to take to build the pressure. So whenever you're thinking in terms of recipes, and meal prep and how long it's going to take, you always want to take into consideration it will take your pressure cooker just a little bit to build that steam. But all in all, in about 20-25 minutes, you can have 24 eggs done. And again, 25 minutes, you can have beans done. So I've started making chili from dried beans, which I never did before. So again, those are my favorite things to cook in here. In addition to our little egg racks, we also have some steamer baskets that I couldn't find this morning. You get a small one and a large one. I have no idea where I put those, but you can steam foods in here. We have a little ceramic, I shouldn't say little because this is pretty big, but it is a ceramic pot with a lid. And this is great. So it goes in this here. So basically, if I'm doing, let's say like a chicken teriyaki or something, I can put my chicken down in there, put my trivet on top of it, and then place this on top of that. So I've got my chicken, and here I can do like rice, I can do vegetables or what have you, and they're cooking at the same time, but I'm keeping them separate. So I love that. And then the little thing that lowers it down in here fits some other accessories. One is with our springform pan. This is one of my favorites because I make my cheesecake, which is so good. And here we also have a bundt pan. And then the one thing I forgot to mention is we have these little 1 cup, I think they're called prep cups. But anyway, they have silicone lids and you can fit 6 of these, 3 on each one of our egg trays. And then you put that down in here and you can do individual like yogurts or cheesecakes or something like that. So lots of fun stuff here. And like I said, our accessories will fit an Instant Pot, or at least all of the models I've checked. So if you have any questions about those, put them in the comments below. And then you might have questions like, well, what kind of pressure do I cook it on, high or low? The majority of your recipes are going to call for high pressure, unless you have something that's really delicate like fish or maybe veggies or something like that, then you may would want to cook it on a low pressure. And then as far as times go, it really depends on the type of meat, whether it's frozen and how big it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a chart or a list in the description below, and it'll talk all about, the different times and how long you could cook stuff for. So if you really want a really quick and easy recipe to start with, I did a salsa chicken. It's only 2 recipes. It is the easiest recipe in the world, I promise. And it's so quick. It's a perfect starter recipe if you have not cooked with a pressure cooker. And I will put a link to that right here. So I thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next Tuesday with another tip. Bye.